I watched in silent fury as my 10-year-old daughter Emma struggled to balance a tray of drinks at my niece Victoria's birthday party. My sister Catherine's voice rang across the lavishly decorated backyard. Emma, sweetie, Madison needs her lemonade refreshed. That's what you're here for, right? Emma's eyes met mine, uncertain and hurt. Before I could intervene, our mother chimed in from her perch near the pool. Catherine's right, Emma needs to learn these skills. It's good practice for her future. My name is Olivia, and at 35 I'd spent years enduring my family's not-so-subtle jabs about my unfortunate financial situation. As a single mom working as a small bookstore owner, I didn't fit into their country club lifestyle. Catherine, with her surgeon husband and mansion in the prestigious part of town, never let me forget it. Mom, Emma whispered, approaching me while Catherine was distracted with her photographer, do I have to keep serving drinks? Victoria keeps spilling hers on purpose and laughing. I squeezed her hand, my heart breaking. Just a little longer, sweetheart, then we can go home. But why are they treating us like this? We're family too. Before I could answer, Catherine's sharp voice cut through our conversation. Emma, the drinks aren't going to serve themselves. That's what poor people are for, remember? She laughed, that artificial sound that always reminded me of breaking glass. Come on, it's character building. Our mother nodded approvingly. Catherine's always been good at teaching life lessons. You could learn from her, Olivia. I watched my daughter's shoulders slump as she picked up another tray. Around her, Catherine's 3 children lounged on designer pool chairs, deliberately dropping their empty cups and demanding refills. Victoria, celebrating her 11th birthday in a dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, smirked every time Emma had to bend down to pick something up. You know, Catherine sidled up to me, her diamond bracelet catching the sunlight. If you just accepted Dad's offer to work at his company instead of chasing that ridiculous bookstore dream, Emma wouldn't have to learn these valuable life skills. I bit my tongue, thinking about the sealed envelope in my home office. The one Grandpa Harrison had given me before he passed away 6 months ago. Don't open it until the time is right, he'd said, his eyes twinkling with that familiar mischief I'd always loved. Catherine had always been Mom and Dad's favorite, the one who followed their carefully planned path. Prestigious university, marriage to a successful man, perfect house, perfect kids. I was the disappointment who chose literature over law, who married a struggling artist who later left us for his true calling in Paris. Emma, Catherine's voice cracked like a whip. Madison's cup is empty again. Honestly, you need to pay better attention. This is why people like you end up serving people like us. Something snapped inside me as I watched my daughter blink back tears. I remembered Grandpa Harrison's last words to me. You were always the one who understood the value of things beyond money, Olivia. Just like your grandmother. I pulled out my phone, stepping away from the pool area. My hands shook slightly as I dialed my lawyer's number. Mr. Phillips, it's time to open those documents. Are you sure, Olivia? Once we do this, there's no going back. I watched as Victoria deliberately tripped Emma, sending a tray of drinks crashing to the ground. Catherine's laughter rang out, followed by our mother's calls for Emma to clean up her mess. I'm sure, release everything. All of it. It'll take about an hour to process and deliver the notifications. Are you at the party? Yes. Perfect timing, don't you think? I could hear the smile in his voice. Your grandfather would be proud. He always said you were the only one who inherited your grandmother's spirit. As I hung up, Catherine was instructing Emma on the proper way to clean up spills for her future career. Our mother was regaling her country club friends with stories about Catherine's recent charity gala, carefully avoiding any mention of my existence. They had no idea that Grandpa Harrison, who built our family's fortune from nothing, had seen through their shallow facades years ago. They didn't know about the quiet afternoons I'd spent with him in his library, discussing books and life while Catherine was busy with social climbing. They hadn't noticed when he changed his will, or when he set up the trust fund, or when he transferred ownership of most of his assets 6 months before his death. But they were about to find out. I checked my watch, 55 minutes until the documents would be delivered. 55 minutes until they learned that Grandpa Harrison had left everything, the family company, the real estate holdings, the majority of his fortune in a trust for Emma, with me as the trustee until she turned 25. Catherine's voice cut through my thoughts again. Emma, darling, while you're down there cleaning, the patio could use a sweep. Consider it training for your future. I smiled, watching the minutes tick by. Sometimes karma needed a little help, and Grandpa Harrison had made sure we had everything we needed to deliver it. The party continued around us, a perfect display of wealth and privilege, while my daughter wiped up spills and served drinks. For now, in less than an hour everything would change. I just had to wait a little longer. The notification arrived exactly as Mr. Phillips promised. First my mother's phone chimed, then Catherine's. I watched their faces as they read the emails, their expressions morphing from confusion to disbelief to horror. This must be a mistake. Catherine stammered, her perfectly manicured hand shaking as she held her phone. Mom, are you seeing this? Our mother had gone pale, her social mask cracking for the first time in years. It says everything was left to Emma. Through Olivia, that's impossible. I called Emma over, wrapping a protective arm around her shoulders. Actually, it's not impossible at all. Grandpa Harrison was very clear about his wishes. Catherine's husband David rushed over, his own phone displaying the same notification. The company shares, the properties, the accounts, all of them? His voice cracked. Even our house, especially your house, I replied calmly. Grandpa always owned it, you were just living there. Rather like how you've been living your entire life, actually on borrowed privilege. Victoria and her siblings had stopped their poolside lounging, sensing the shift in atmosphere. The party guests began to whisper among themselves, the kind of eager murmuring that preceded prime country club gossip. But we're his family. Catherine's voice rose hysterically. We're the ones who attended all the charity events, who maintained the family's social standing. Not some bookworm and her daughter. Emma looked up at me, confusion clear in her eyes. Mom, what's happening? I smiled down at her. Remember how Grandpa always said that true wealth isn't about money, but about how you treat others? She nodded slowly. Well, he left us a gift to prove that point. Everything they have. The house you've been serving drinks in, the pool you weren't allowed to swim in, even the company that pays for their lifestyle. It all belongs to you now, or it will when you're older. The color drained from Catherine's face. You can't do this to us. We have a lifestyle to maintain. Like the lifestyle you've been mocking us for not having. I asked quietly. The one you've been using to humiliate my daughter all day. Our mother stepped forward, switching tactics. Olivia darling, let's be reasonable. Your father and I always wanted what's best for both our girls. Surely we can come to some arrangement. Like the arrangement where Emma serves drinks to her cousins because she's poor, I countered. Or the arrangement where you've excluded us from family events, unless you needed someone to remind your friends how generous you are to your less fortunate daughter. David, ever the pragmatist, tried next. Think about the business implications. Catherine and I have the connections, the experience of spending money you didn't earn. I interrupted. Grandpa Harrison spent 40 years building this company. He watched how all of you treated it like your personal ATM. He made his choice accordingly. Victoria approached Emma, her earlier smugness replaced by desperate friendliness. Emma, cousin, we were just joking earlier. You know that, right? We can share my new iPad. Emma, my brilliant perceptive daughter, simply took my hand. Can we go home now, Mom? I don't want to serve any more drinks. The party guests were openly staring now, phones recording every moment. Catherine's perfect party had become a social nightmare. You've ruined everything, Catherine shrieked, her composure finally shattering completely. This was supposed to be Victoria's perfect day. I gathered our things, keeping Emma close. No, Catherine, you ruined it when you decided to teach your children that it's okay to humiliate family members for their own amusement. Consider this a lesson in character building. As we walked toward the exit, I turned back one last time. Mr. Phillips will be in touch about the new property arrangements. I hear there are some lovely apartments available across town, in the area you always called quaint when describing my neighborhood. The last thing we heard as we left was Catherine's wail of, "But what will everyone think?" followed by the busy sound of party guests updating their social media. In the car, Emma was quiet for a moment before asking, "Mom, are we rich now?" I started the engine, smiling at her in the rearview mirror. "No, sweetheart, we're exactly who we've always been. People who understand that wealth isn't about money, it's about how you treat others." She nodded thoughtfully, like Grandpa Harrison taught us. Exactly like that. And speaking of lessons, I pulled out an envelope from my bag. Grandpa left you something else. Want to see what it is? The envelope contained a handwritten letter from Grandpa Harrison, along with a small silver key. As Emma read it in our cozy living room, her eyes widened. "Dear Emma," she read aloud, If you're reading this, it means your mother has finally shown everyone what true character looks like. The key belongs to my private library. The one your Aunt Catherine thought was just full of dusty old books. But you and your mother always understood their real value. Tears welled in my eyes as I remembered those peaceful afternoons with Grandpa, discussing literature while Catherine attended her social functions. The library had been our sanctuary. The next part's for you, Mom. Emma continued reading. Olivia, my dear, I've watched you raise Emma with the same values your grandmother and I believed in. While Catherine chased status, you taught Emma about kindness, integrity, and the real meaning of wealth. The library is yours now. Both the books and the rare first editions collection I've spent 50 years building. You'll know what to do with them. The phone hadn't stopped ringing since we left the party. First came the angry calls from Catherine, then the pleading ones from our mother, followed by increasingly desperate messages from David about negotiating a reasonable solution. I ignored them all, focusing instead on Emma's excited chatter about visiting the library. We drove to Grandpa's estate the next morning, the familiar path feeling different somehow. The guards who'd sometimes turned us away at Catherine's instruction now opened the gates with respectful nods. The library was exactly as I remembered. Floor-to-ceiling shelves, leather armchairs, and the subtle scent of aged paper and wisdom. Emma's eyes sparkled as she explored, running her fingers gently over the spines of priceless first editions. Mom, look. She carefully pulled out a worn copy of Little Women. This one has notes in it. I smiled, recognizing Grandpa's handwriting. He'd annotated many of his books, adding personal observations and life lessons in the margins. Another thing Catherine had dismissed as worthless. My phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Phillips. Catherine and family are moving out next weekend. David's company shares have been transferred to the trust. Would you like to attend the final property inspection? Before I could reply, another message came through, this time from Catherine. You've destroyed our lives. I hope you're happy. Victoria's friends are all laughing at her, and David's business partners are pulling out of deals. Is this what you wanted? I showed the messages to Emma, who had settled into Grandpa's old reading chair. What do you think we should do? She thought for a moment, then said, remember what Victoria said about her new iPad, about sharing it after being mean all day. I nodded. Well, maybe we should show them there's a better way to be, like Grandpa tried to teach them. My wise little girl. I typed out a response to Catherine. Emma would like to invite Victoria to visit the library. Real friendship doesn't depend on who has what. It's about how we treat each other. Catherine's reply was immediate. You're mocking us now. No, I wrote back. We're offering your children something more valuable than what they lost. A chance to learn what Grandpa tried to teach all of us. Over the next few weeks, changes rippled through our family. Catherine and David moved to a modest house in my neighborhood. Victoria, stripped of her designer clothes and expensive toys, slowly began to discover who she was without them. To everyone's surprise, she and Emma developed a genuine friendship over their shared love of books. Our mother struggled the most, caught between her ingrained snobbery and the reality of her new circumstances. But even she began to change, especially after Emma invited her to their weekly reading sessions in the library. One afternoon, as I watched Emma and Victoria giggling over a shared story, Catherine approached me in the library. I still don't understand, she said quietly. All those years while I was hosting parties and chasing status, you and Dad were just reading. I gestured to the girls. We were learning about life, about people, about what really matters. Everything you see here. The rare books, the first editions worth more than your old house. Dad collected them because they had real value, not just price tags. She was quiet for a moment. Victoria's different now, happier, somehow, even with less. Maybe, I suggested, she's happier because she finally has more of what actually matters. Catherine nodded slowly, then asked hesitantly,
Do you think?
do you think I could borrow a book? I smiled, remembering Grandpa's words about second chances. The library's always open to family, the real kind of family, the one that cares about more than status. As I watched my sister tentatively select a book and settle into a corner to read, I knew Grandpa Harrison had given us something far more valuable than money or property. He'd given us the chance to rewrite our family's story, one page at a time. Emma and Victoria's laughter echoed through the library. A sound worth more than all the trust funds in the world. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about making others lose everything. It's about helping them find what they never knew they were missing.